Thomas. We are Porsche 944 specialist here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Hope everybody's having a great Sunday. It's been warm all week and then turned cold here, so hopefully everybody is staying warm today. But yeah, usually do our live stream at noon Eastern Standard Time, so always be sure to tune in. You can also go back and watch these after the show by clicking the live tab on my YouTube channel. Asaf says hi. J Fusion says happy Sunday. Happy Fox says hi Noon B. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you guys for joining me. So before we get into this, I want to just do what I always forget to do, and that is talk about the event. So we had the track weekend this weekend, and I take it you guys didn't make it, but yeah, it was a great time down at AMP, and they're still out there running. I unfortunately said I would be there, but I didn't get to go. I had a lot going on, but I'm glad to be here with you guys anyway, but there's always next time. But we've got the Helen 944 meet coming up in June. It's going to be June 12th through 14th. If you go to my community page, you can find the link to the website there and register. Registration is now open. We open it in January because it's time to get hotel rooms. It gets so crowded down there in Helen that you got to get those hotel rooms about 6 months in advance if you're going to get a good one and a decent price. So hope you guys can join us for that. We usually have about 30 to 40 cars out there, and it's a little bit different than other events. We stay in hotels, we eat in nice restaurants, have a lot of food all weekend, a lot of little sweets. We have breakfast together, and then we go on road mountain runs, and just generally have a whole weekend of driving and hanging out with some new friends, but it's always a great time. So that's pretty much it for the events as far as I can remember right now. There's always something I forget, but yeah, we're gonna get into the barn find that was in this spot here. Well, it's now outside where we're driving it, so you guys may remember when it came in. It hadn't run in nearly 28 years or so, and it's now running and driving. We did find once we warmed it up that one of the fans is locked up and the thermofan switch isn't kicking the fan on, but that's all small things. But we don't run the cars in the shop up to temperature. We have an exhaust fan that sucks most of the stuff out, but it still stinks, especially when you have a lot of rust and leaves underneath some of these cars that have been sitting for 30 years, and it can smell like a lawnmower. So it's not just the exhaust smell that you have to worry about with some of these cars. So we got it outside, warmed it up, let it burn everything off, and it's outside now, and we drove it around a little bit. The clutch was frozen to the flywheel, but we was able to knock that loose, and surprisingly the clutch hydraulics are still working. We're probably going to replace those as well. Brake master cylinder seemed a little weak for the front brakes, but seems to be stopping fine, but we're probably going to replace that too. It's just little odds and ends on that before it goes home. But yeah, it's outside, it's driving around. We don't want the clutch master cylinder, and especially the brake master cylinder, to fail after 30 years of sitting. So we'll probably just go ahead and fix those, and should be ready to go. So that means we've got something else in its spot, and with this one here, it just probably had the biggest power steering leak that I'd ever seen. This one is an 85, I believe it's an 85-1. Check And yes, this is a 85-1. So the barn find that was sitting here was a 85.5. This one is a 85-1. So I actually own a black 85-2. And let me get this out of here, or pull it outside. I may do a video and just kind of do the differences, because I wanted to do a video for a long time on the differences between the early and late cars, so 85-1 and 85-2, and this is actually perfect. We actually literally have an 85-1 here, and I own an 85-2. So we could go through those and just kind of show you the back and forth. Of course, most of the changes are in the interior and stuff, but read some comments now. Thomas has a clutch question. He has an 86 944 turbo with 32,000 miles. New Jersey winter, drove the car for about, I'm guessing that's what that says. Drove the car for about 3 weeks ago. The clutch performed perfectly. Got in yesterday. Pedal very soft and all the way down. That is your clutch cylinders. So if one fails, a lot of times you can climb up underneath the dashboard and look and see if the cylinder up underneath behind the clutch pedal is leaking. And that's sometimes what it is. You could also go up underneath the car and look up above the starter on the left side, and you should see some weeping there. It's not always the case, but if the pedals fall into the floor, you can imagine one of them has failed. But they fail in pairs, so what has happened in the past is you'll replace the one that's no longer working and instantly the other one goes out. So just go ahead and replace both of those, and that'll fix your issue. Pretty common, especially at this age. All these brake fluid is very caustic, so it's not gonna, especially if a car sat for a long time, they don't hold up. It's funny because some of these cars I get in here that are driven every day that are 40 years old, they still have that stuff that's original and it still works perfect. But it's time to change them, so we change them. But yeah, they'll last 40 years, but you have some of them that the cars that sit, those are most susceptible to having failures like that. But yeah, you can check for fluid leaks, but honestly, there's no point in doing that. You know, if the pedal is soft, then it's one of two have failed, so just go ahead and replace both. And it also doesn't hurt to go in and replace the clutch line as well. There's a rubber clutch line that runs down, and you can just, so on a turbo, it's gonna kind of loop up and go down, and you're gonna see the rubber part go down this way. But on the early cars, the clutch line just comes out and you can see it right there. That one actually looks to be in pretty good shape. I think that yeah, this cylinder's new. There's a lot of new stuff on this car. There's some old stuff as well, so this is old. We delete these when we can, or at least disable them. So on a car that we're trying to go for originality on, we'll leave these on here, but we'll put a little stopper in there where nothing can get in there. So there'll be a stopper hidden in that. Because they actually didn't stop putting this on until about 89. So you'll start noticing belt covers and air boxes didn't have that until 89. Rusty Ratchet says, what are the two white plug wires above the brake booster? All right, perfect question. So this is going to be on early and late cars. Of course, this plug changed in 85.5. So this is the one you're asking about. This is the exciter wire. This blue wire, to be exact, is the exciter wire for the alternator, and the red wire is for the ignition switch to starter. So if you have any corrosion there, you may notice battery light, or you might end up with the starter not working. Now, why that's separate, who knows? Maybe as an afterthought on their behalf. But they're just limited in these. Who knows? But it works. Maybe they figured you'd be having to pull this apart a lot more. But you guys can see easy access to the coil wire here. But one thing I recommend on pretty much every car, and we just saw this week. So we had that yellow barn find. We did the barn find on it. It wasn't really a barn find, but the yellow car that was here last week, it's now home. But we did find an issue with the coil. So I remember, if you guys remember, a while back, I mentioned that fuse your coil. Take your black wire anywhere you can, especially before the fuse box. Anywhere you can before the fuse box, that black wire actually runs from the coil, and you can do it right there at the coil. It'd probably be the best spot, especially since you don't have to. I don't have to tell you how to do it on both early and late cars because this is going to be the same. But fuse that black wire, because anytime these spark plugs corrode or the wires corrode due to moisture, make sure that you always put dielectric grease in these. It not only helps where you can remove these later on, but it also keeps the moisture out of there so your spark plugs and wires won't corrode. And what had happened was he had already had new spark plugs and wires and distributor cap and all that, but when that happens, it can create high resistance and can go back to the coil, and it will burn up the entire wire and blow out the fuse box. And so yeah, it makes a mess of things, because once those wires or the connections melt in the fuse box, you're going to have to go in and replace plugs, and you're going to have to replace connectors and sometimes even the fuse box. So just go ahead and fuse that. But flip side of that, always do the maintenance on your spark plugs, and you really won't have to worry about that. But you know, they should have fused that from the factory. I don't know. And you don't need a huge fuse in there too. You could probably put a 2 amp fuse in there and it'd be just fine, if you can find one. But I'd keep it low, like 7.5 amps or something like that. But yeah, getting back to this car, we're just doing some little odds and ends. He's got new hoses. These look okay. Car fires up, does well. It's got a new water pump on it. The belts look good, but it just has a massive leak from the power steering. So that's what we're working on. We're gonna get a new rebuilt rack and put it in, and then we're just gonna kind of comb through this car and just see what else it needs. It's probably gonna go ahead and get new fuel lines here. These aren't looking too good. Happy Fox says should give you a warning light when low level, but it's usually stuck. So Happy Fox mentioned that you should get a low level warning light when the cylinders go out. So you got to keep in mind the later cars. Do I have a later car in here? Yeah, I do have a later car I can look at in here. So you're not going to get a low brake fluid light on a later car if the clutch goes out, because it is in a completely separate chamber, and this is why so many people have issues bleeding the clutch on the later cars. So the early cars, I'll take you guys back over here and show you how this is laid out. So in the early cars, this section up here, there is a sectioned off area in here, so that's why you can see that there's 2 different levels in here, not just because it's the way it's sitting, but there's a little divider in here. So this part here is for your rear brakes and this part is for your front brakes, and you can see that your clutch cylinders run off this here, and yeah, this is where the float is that gives you that warning light. So on an early car, you can, once this gets so low, it will cause the light to come on, which is an awful design as well. So if your clutch cylinders go out and it's bad enough, you'll still have brakes because you'll have a little bit of fluid in here, but it's a terrible design because your clutch cylinders fail. You're sitting in the mall parking lot somewhere and it just leaks all your fluid out, and now you don't have brakes, and that's dangerous. So Porsche changed that, and they should have just done like every other manufacturer in the world and went ahead and put a separate chamber to the side for this, but oh no, they didn't want to do that. That would have made it easier to bleed too. But instead, they moved it here, and now it has its own chamber here. So you can fill this all the way up here, and then once you fill the front part up, then the fluid will finally make it to where the rear brakes is. And then if you're lucky enough and you have the car at just the right angle, it will start filling up the clutch cylinder section. So yeah, how about that? So a lot of people will be saying that they have this completely filled up and they still can't get the clutch to bleed, and we're talking like, what a nightmare. If this just goes a little bit low, it sucks in some air and you got to start all over again. So poor design. We've gotten to the point when we do these from scratch, we just take this hose off here, put a reservoir on here, fill it up, and then once that's done and we have this hose halfway full, we just attach it there, and then the air will come out that way, what's a little bit left. So it's so much better. Let's see. Some more people saying hello. Well, hello to you and happy Sunday. So this here is the 87 944S that we're working on. Last week, maybe saw we had the belt on there, but we're actually getting the covers redone this week. So we pulled that front belt section off there, so that way we could get that done as well. But she cleaned up pretty nice. She had a broken oil pickup right here. Well, not pickup, but oil supply. This whole line had broken off right there, so this thing wasn't even getting oil for a long time. Changed the pads out. Everything looks good. It's always nice to come in here and see a head that is undamaged. We had that black S2 in here, or black S in here not too long ago, same year and everything, but it had the scoring right there that we had to put a bearing in, and this had cracked over here. But no, other than just being a really dirty car, she cleaned up nice. Yeah. Happy Fox says, and when it's full and you want to bleed the clutch, it fills up so slowly it will suck air into the system. Yeah, and that's the problem with it. So we have a special reservoir here that actually sits in, like, we clip it on right there, just pour the fluid in, and it just puts the fluid right in there. We just crack the bleeder screw on the bottom there, and it just, as soon as fluid comes out, it might take 10 minutes. We don't even worry about it. We just simply start bleeding, and we're done in like 2 seconds, and just put this back on. No, you don't have to do that every time, but it does make life so much easier to just do this. Yeah, they should have just put, Porsche just put one in from the factory, but I imagine that's the way they did it at the factory. They just bled it that way and just did this, because if you have the car level and you have a lift, then you can leave it attached, but the car's got to be level for that to work, and otherwise you're not going to be able to get up underneath it, or not have fun getting up underneath it anyway. So you can see we got the alternator off here. We've got that being rebuilt. There's no point in trying to start a car after so many years, and it's got an alternator from 1987 in there. You know, it's you're on borrowed time, so you might as well do it. But we found that the oil filler was cracked and broken. We replaced that. These sensors here were cracked and broken, and there was a bunch of leaves and dirt in the engine bay, so we got all that cleaned up. Still got a little bit more cleaning we could do, but it looks a lot better than it did. Go back over to this early car. So how many of you guys have early cars, and how many of you guys have got later cars? We'll start with the early car guys. What you got? Come on, don't be shy. That's what we're here for, just to have some fun. Happy Fox, 83, all right, good year. Did you get an 83 with power steering, or did you get the manual rack? $85.50, awesome. Yeah, that red one out here, that was the barn find, same exact year. Did you ever get your car running? Did it start? J Fusion 87 turbo. Awesome, late offset. Sporty option, all manual Coney. Awesome. I have a Garnet 85.5 that has the Coney options on it. Maybe one day I'll get around to showing you more of my cars. I don't keep them all here in Charlotte. Oh, nice. I had an 83, I had a black 83 that I think you guys saw, so. I made a video on it. It was a black 83 that I found out in the woods. A guy called me about it and he took me down in the woods, and it was a really nice car. I think it was about in the condition that this one is. It was a decent car. The interior was leather. It had manual steering, manual sunroof, and we pulled it up out of the woods, and the night before I was gonna have it delivered, so it was down in the woods, we pulled it up to the road, and before we could get it loaded, so we had to pull it out with a tractor, and we pulled it out of the woods and put it beside the road, so that way tow truck could come the next day and get it. And during that time, someone attacked it and beat it all to pieces, knocked out all the glass, and this was just in the middle of nowhere. So someone went down this dirt road randomly in the middle of nowhere and just happened to see this car sitting there and destroyed it, and decided to part it out. The fenders were still good. Now, surprisingly, it attacked the body of the car. They just blew out all the windows and did stuff like that. But I parted it out, and as I was parting it out, I found that the reference sensor wire right there was mangled, and so that was probably the reason why that beautiful car was ditched. I mean, before it was parked, you could tell that someone really took care of that car and did a lot of work to it. But yeah, the reference sensor wire went bad on it, and someone put it in the woods for 15 years and let it rot. But had an 83 for a short period of time until I parted it out. That had really nothing wrong with it other than it needed a new reference sensor wire, and that's such a bummer. eventually scrapped that one. I have got a white 87 924S. I've got a another red 924S, and then I have my turbo 924S, a 88 924S, my Garnet 85 and a half. I got a black 85 and a half. Well, hi Ted. Hope you're having a great Sunday. Hope everybody's staying warm. It was about 70 degrees here last week, and someone told me it was going to turn off cold, and I was just plugging my ears, and I didn't want to hear that. I don't want any more cold weather. Well, it's not that bad, but could be much worse. But it's only like 50. John says his 85 and a half is Garnet as well. Awesome. Yeah, it's a nice color. I really got to get some of these back on the road. So my Garnet 85 and a half is just sitting there. It sat so long that the injector's plugged up. So I didn't drive it enough. So people are like, how do these guys just let the car sit? It happens. It happens. Car's running fine. I let it sit for like 2 years because life gets in the way of things. And came back, fuel pump was seized up, and injectors were clogged. So I got new injectors for it, put a new fuel pump in it, and started it up. But I got to really like clean it up and put it back together. It needs a lot of work. And the clutch is also frozen to the flywheel type deal. So J Fusion says it's snowing in Virginia. Oh, I heard that there's going to be, I think that was recent news anyway, that there's going to be a blizzard in New York City. That may have been old news, but they said it was warm up there, and then suddenly we're going to get another one. Kevin says you should bring the 924S Turbo to the fest this year. That one is a long-term project at this point. So there's a lot going on with that. So I mentioned I got a lot of cars, and they all just sort of like rotate in and out of being driven. And that one I kind of decided I wanted to do some experiments on, and I should have never done it, but anyway, it's like I got 5 red cars, let's do something different, and yeah, kind of took on its own life from there. So it's not on the road currently. I'd gotten so far behind with stuff here at the shop, I haven't been able to finish it, and that's been quite a few years ago. But it should live again one day. But Jeffrey says, howdy Brent, 84 sunroof delete, color matched Fuchs. Awesome. Yeah, I think I know your car, right? All right. Have you had any experience with DME computers after they get wet? I've heard that you can dry and clean them, and usually okay. Sometimes. So that's sometimes. I've actually got one on the shelf over here, and I'll go through some descriptions of stuff that happens to them. I hope I still got that one over here on the shelf. Hold on a second. We should do it. Yeah, this is it. So this one's from many years ago. I'll flip the camera around. So this one came out of a car that had a giant hole in the battery tray. And what this one would do is that the car's starting to run just fine. Perfectly fine. but you could not in any way get it to go over 3,000 RPM. And I assure you that this one is completely dry, since it's probably been 7-8 years since it's been in a car, but it still does that. So sometimes, now I will send this off to be fixed eventually as needed, but I keep rebuilt ones on the shelf, but I rarely need them. They're pretty bulletproof unless they've been water damaged. So yeah, I see the computers fail, but I've seen the early car ones fail and they never get wet. But if you're lucky, you can save them from being wet. They're pretty robust, but you know, if you're having issues like that, then it's better to just go ahead and send it off and get it fixed. All right. Last time I drove my car, the fans would not go off. I had to pull the relay. Your thoughts on the cost? So you got an 85.5. They fail, those thermofan switches fail in the on position, so that way, well, typically, I've got one out here that doesn't work at all, but I've seen them fail in the on position like more times than any. Yeah, it's your thermofan switch. So who is my favorite DME rebuilder? We use ECU Doctors out of Florida. Actually, I got one over here from me. So I'll just show you their label. Here you go. Like I said, with Specialized ECU, but they go by ECUDoctors.com. So like I said, we keep new ones or rebuilt ones on the shelf. Some of these I've been hanging on to for years. Sometimes I swap them in and out of cars just for testing purposes. This one here, I think I put a performance chip in it, and you can see I took the labels off of it, but I put a performance chip in this one, and sometimes I'll just put it in my car and go to the track with it, and then I take the computer. Rather than having to swap chips, I got extra computers. I just put a whole different computer in there. It's so much faster. Just unplug it, put that one in, and ready to go to the track. Get that the chip I've got, like, I can't really tell the difference. It's an 88, so it's probably the same tune, but it does raise the rev limiter a little bit. Just gives you that little bit extra, but there's no power above 6,500. There's no power above 6,000, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, we use ECU Doctors. I don't know of any other one other than that. That's just who we use. So never had a problem with them. They work great. Let's see. Yep, finally ordered $2,000 in parts, ready to finally rebuild the suspension. Awesome, yeah. So did your car, Jeff, did it originally have the conies, or are you installing the conies? I'm just curious because I couldn't remember. I want to say your car had conies. I know you have the Fuchs and the suspension option, but I could not remember if it originally had conies. I get a lot of guys come in and they want to upgrade to conies, so I end up with like a lot of used conies, and I wish Coney would go back to restoring those. In case that ever happens, I've probably got 3 sets of conies here, and if anybody wants to buy them, I'll give them to you at a reasonable rate. There's nothing wrong with them, just they're old, and they probably don't work as well as new ones, but I would say probably. I mean, for me, I'd put them on a car if I wanted some conies, and I didn't want to pay that price. Happy Fox says you don't have to curl your beak into the windscreen with the rev limiter. So there's that, exactly. No more teeth in the steering wheel. Yeah, exactly right. You got that little bit extra that you can go through, but it's like above about 6,000 RPM. It's kind of like being in neutral, but it is better than being on the brakes and. What is up, guys? Let's see. You guys want to see the interiors? Look at the beautiful wheels he's got. He's got some beautiful BBS. So, I used to have a white 944, and these were the wheels or type of wheels that I originally bought for them. These look like the cast ones. This is exactly what I bought. I bought a set of that for them, and it was just going to be way more than I wanted to put into them to have them refinished. Someone had plastic coated them, and to get that stuff off was a nightmare. So I ended up trading them, and I ended up with a set of replica Fuchs, but they were like a really good replica Fuchs. So I wasn't really going for, yeah, it's a lighter wheel so much as I was like, this actually looks like the real Fuchs, because a lot of those are just terrible knockoffs that don't even look like a real Fuchs wheel, or Fuchs. Some people say words that will probably get me kicked off YouTube. So yeah, we've got 66,000 posted miles. It could be 166. Looking at the seats, it's probably 166. That's how I gauge. So you guys go, how many miles do you think this car's got on with the 5-digit speedometer? We just look at the seat. If they're split like this, we'll say, yeah, it's probably 100,000 easily. But it does have sport seats. There's the lovely patina dashboard. I won't go into anyone's glove box or anything. That's not my business. But you get the idea. We just like to look at the cars. We got that fixed. It came up again because I was playing with the shifter. I needed to replace my front AC compressor bolt recently and didn't realize that it's fine thread M10 and not a coarse thread. Just a nerdy thing to know if you work on 944s. Absolutely, yes. Be sure. that is a rule with 944s. Thanks for pointing that out. You wouldn't believe how many cars we have. I wear my glasses like this when I'm on here because they're bifocals and seeing better. So I'm just pull an old man Jeremy Clarkson. But yes, the AC compressor has a very special bolt that goes in the front of it, and you wouldn't believe how many people put. I believe they take their M8 the M10 125s, which is a very rare thing. Usually M10s are 1.5, and then you'll see many people put the 1.5s in there, and it just strips it out and their bolt falls out. I see that so many times, so be careful with that. Make sure that you always have the correct bolt going in there. Lay that one aside. Happy Fox says, also if it has an original unexploded hoses water pump, it could be under 100,000. Yeah, that's true. We did have that yellow car in here just last week, and it had the original water pump on that car. You don't see too many of. Let me see. I think we have a scrap pile going over here. We take it off every now and then. So we got a turbo water pump here. Over over at my other shop, I probably have I scrapped probably 300 water pumps, and we probably got another 300 over there, and I've probably got another 200 here. So anybody wants water pumps to play around with, I saw a guy convert his car to an electric water pump one time, and he just popped the propeller out and welded it all up, and then ran an electric water pump to it. Pretty interesting design. Let's see if I can't find that. Now we got an NA water pump. Play around with water pumps for a little while. Wow, this day went by pretty quick. But I know that early water pumps got to be here. All I'm seeing is like turbo and late water pumps. Hold on a second. Where is this thing? Oh, I think this is it. Let's see if I can find a date on this. So yeah, so I made that water pumps video probably a decade ago now. Let's see here. Happy Fox says, do you like the INE water pumps? They're coming back quick. I have not heard of that. Is that a brand, INE? Do water pumps leak when they fail? Yes. They do have weep holes in them. All of them do. You can see the weep hole right there. So when this rubber seal in here fails, you're gonna have that weep right out of that hole, and that's going to tell you ahead of time that the bearing's getting ready to seal. So the seal is failed and the water pump is getting ready to seize. So when you see that, change it immediately. Yes, when the bearing fails, they seize immediately, and in some cases you're fine. You're just going to start overheating like immediately. It's going to look like you have a blown head gasket. It's going to overheat so fast. You're not even going to like you're not going to get out of the parking lot. So you're going to start your car up and it's going to be almost immediately overheating. So over time it can snap the belt, although I've seen people drive with these water pumps for a few miles and it didn't really hurt the belt, but it's, you know, you overheated before the belt could snap. So that's good to know. But yeah, it's a brand in Germany. Okay, I've not heard of them. This one here is a German water pump. I don't think that this is OEM Porsche, but I don't know who made it. It just says made in Germany everywhere. No, it's a Jebba. This is a Jebba pump. Okay. I've heard of those. Yes, I've definitely heard of this. This is off a 3-liter S2. And then we got a Euro, an old Euro here. So yeah, they can go. They last just fine. You can buy a Euro water pump. It doesn't matter. The crucial thing with these is that you must have, you must absolutely make sure your belt tension's correct. So I'm gonna go over here and grab another one. So we'll have an S2, a turbo, and this one's nasty. Look at me being picky. I got too many of them. I'm just picky as I want. Let's try this one. This one looks a little bit better. We're gonna have a little water pump video for you guys. Maybe I'll make a little TikTok or something on them later. This looks like another Jebba, but it is a turbo. Okay, this one's a turbo. All right, cool. All right, well, I just went over to the water pump stack and I pulled out pretty much an example for every single one I've ever made. Didn't expect to do that. But, take a look here. All right. This is pretty much an example of every water pump ever made. And after this, we'll just wrap it up. So this is the original OEM from 1983 to about 80, I think this is 1983 only water pump, as a matter of fact. No, they used it in 84, 85, 85-1. And then about 85.5, they switched over to this type. Yeah, I was gonna say, I think that even 83 didn't have this stud. Or they had the stud, but it was, it's kind of funny. Like, I've seen some of them without the stud. But they were very early, because this is where they mounted the power steering. So cars without power steering didn't necessarily need that. But anyway, so yeah, this is the 83 water pump. 944 part number in it. So this thing is, it's beautiful. So this, if you needed a reason to ever just make sure that you keep up with changing your coolant every 50,000 miles or so, if you get modern stuff, you can go 150,000 or 5 years. This is it. Look, you can't buy these, or if this is an old stock. That's, no, 84. There you go. Make sure you change your coolant very religiously, because you'll end up with that. Don't want that. You want this. Since 1984, this had to have been an old stock. Come on, it had to be, right? But this is the OG original pump. And then they switched over to these 85.5. Notice that this has the belt guide, uses different rollers, and also this is now a different shape. And then this is the turbo ones. Little thermostat goes there. It's pretty much the same as this, but doesn't have the hole and doesn't have this area tapped. And then you have the 2.7 liter and 3 liter pumps. And you can see that this impeller is just a little bit bigger. So I believe this is 78 and this is 68. Been a long time since I looked, but yeah, there you go. And that's pretty much it. That's all. That's the history of water pumps. I think I've even got the I know I have a bunch of the black rollers. I'll grab a belt guide, but I'll see if I still got the little bitty one that goes here. Bolt that up. I'll keep this one. This is a nice little museum piece right there, because the insides are different as well. So this one here, you can put that thin thermostat seal in here and it'd clip right in there. And then later they made it wider, where you got to put shims and all sorts of stupid stuff. I don't know what they were thinking of that, but anyway. All right. I've got some water in my back seat footwell area. I was looking for a way to drain the water, put a hole in a white plastic plug in the floor. Is that something I could play? I'd find the leak and shampoo and steam clean the carpet. Use a little handheld carpet cleaner to suck all the mess up. I wouldn't drill a hole in the floorboard, because here's what's going to happen. You're going to drill a hole in it. That's no longer going to be galvanized, and it's just going to rot the car from the inside out. So yeah, let the paint and the corrosion protection take care of that. Figure out where the leak is. It's if it's in your back seat, I've seen it. I've seen the back seats be soaking wet and nothing's wet in the front, and it still be the battery tray. I don't know if it's running down the door jamming it. I don't know. but it could be anywhere. But I would definitely try and fix that. Happy Fox said, can a corroded impeller noticeable cavitation? I mean, possibly. I mean, if it's gunked up, it's not going to work. I wouldn't worry about the cavitation so much as I would worry about that the impeller's not going to push coolant. Jeffrey says, I'm all in replacing the torsion bar 2 bushings as well. I feel for you. So a buddy of mine, he's got a 924 Carrera GT, and they told him that it was time to reseal his torsion bars because they've been in there since what, 1981. $11,000. So it's not a fun job. That wasn't my price. That's what he was quoted for the job, to be clear. Let's see. Oh yes, the original Coney's M456 option, 23mm 14. So yeah, that was a sport option, the M456. 23mm front and 14mm. That's quite a bit. That's almost as big as the turbo sway bars. I think the turbos are 25. But that's huge on an early 9. Well, you got an 85 and a half. Was it 85 and a half? Either way, that's a good size sway bar for these cars. It's just about dialed in right. Yeah. Be sure if you take the torsion bars out, mark them with against where you removed the exact same spot. So if you take those torsion bars out, you want to mark the torsion bar and you want to mark the area that you pulled it from, because if you pull that out and you play a little guessing game, and the teeth are tiny too, so you got to make sure you're very precise with your marking. You can't be like, I want it here, I want it there, because that's the difference between like 2 inches. You're gonna have one side sitting like 2 inches higher or one side 2. So it's a very delicate little thing, but no, it's well worth it to do. Right, no, these aren't hollow sway bars. I've never cut one open, but yeah, they're not hollow. I'm pretty sure I've seen them cut open. But yeah, all right, guys, it's getting ready to be 1 o'clock. I enjoyed hanging out with you this afternoon. It's been a lot of fun. Went by way too quick. I did not expect the day to go by that quick, but I got to get back to work. I've got a guy coming soon to check out his car. And anyway, don't forget the Helen Meet is June 12th through 14th. Get registered today. Get your hotel rooms because they're going to be gone. There's a lot of stuff going on in Helen during June, and you want to make sure that you can get your room. Can't wait to see you guys there, and in the meantime, we'll see you next Sunday, and you guys have a great week.